Talk about your circumstances coming to the WWF.
I'd left WCW under bad circumstances. WCW, I had an incident with Paul Pollendorf. That's been talked about
We'll touch on
100 times in 1,000 different ways.
Well, let's get the truth.
You know,
Or your version of the truth.
It'd be my version of the truth, of course. And I mean, Paul and I had always, in my opinion, we'd always been good friends. And I'm not saying we went hunting together, fishing together, but hey, how are you? He was a professional athlete in terms of football.
Right.
I was. He played college. I played college, and we always got to get along together. This is just my opinion. I believe I was in Ric Flair's way. I was in Hulk Hogan's way. Eric Bischoff and I had conversations about me hooking up with Hulk and doing the job. And I had said, you know, this is a career decision for me. If I meet Hulk and I do the job as big, you know, where does Vader go from there?
Right.
With the company, where do I go from there after this contract is up? And my position, and probably the biggest mistake I've made, business-wise, you know, Hulk was just too powerful. I needed to get aligned with Hulk. I needed to shake his hand and say, hey, Hulk, you're the captain, whatever you want to do it for the sake of my family. Now, I obviously, I made a different decision where I felt, hey, you know, I'll gladly do the job for Hulk, but I want him to do one first. Hulk comes in, he beats Flair 4 straight matches. He beats Barbara Beefcake. He's on top. People are cheering me in the ring. I mean, I'm for all intents and purposes, I'm a babyface. It's pretty much that simple. And I remember the first match I had with Hulk. I walk out and I'm literally, you know, my middle finger's up and I'm spitting and cussing, and they're cheering me. Vader, it's Vader time, rah, rah, yay! And Hulk come out probably to the least amount of cheers, you know. And I had thought, hey, you know what? Hulk does the, you know, and there's a lot of ways to do a job, you know.
Right.
You know, beat up a guy and then powerbomb him, you know. Harley races there, you know, but he does it, and then we come back. We have at least a 2-match series, and then of course I do it for him, and that was my vision of this whole thing. And I obviously, again, I thought it was a mistake, but moving on past that. That night, there was on 3 different occasions, and I don't want to name names, but I would get attacked, and you have to understand what I'm saying. Let's say I'm sitting at a table, somebody would come over with a drink and say, how you doing, good to see you, blah blah, and next thing you know, I'm being confronted in a physical confrontation in a bar after a match. And it's like it happened once. Whoa, it happened twice. I'm going, I've never had a problem with this guy in my life, and nor had I had any conversation. That happened 3 different times. And then the 4th time it happened, I told my attorney about it, and I felt somebody was trying to get me to react as I eventually did with Orndorff. And the irony about the situation, the situation with, I guess the final situation with WCW was Eric Bischoff's in charge, Flair and Hogan are running the show, and specifically Hogan. And I've had these 3 verbal attacks that, you know, had I reacted, would have turned into a physical confrontation.
Right.
And, you know, you're in a bar, you're in a hotel, you get thrown in jail, you get in a fight, and you know, those are grounds for dismissal.
So they're trying to goad you into that,
In
so
my
they can
opinion.
give you the pink slip, in your opinion.
In my opinion, and that actually happened. I could be more specific, but you know, I don't care to at this time. So Eric Bischoff, he calls me at the Marriott. He says, Leon, and I'm not saying Eric is part of this, I don't know, but Eric calls me, said, you have to take some pictures today. I don't care. I said, Eric, I'm tired. I don't want to do it. And, you know, to make the point, I had not done it for weeks. You know, this is it. You have to go today. and do it. And I said, okay, Eric, make sure everyone understands. At TV, I'm going to be late. Simple as that. So I go to one part of Atlanta, and TV is in another part of Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
I go, and, you know, you're it's your 25th day of the month, and you're sore and you're tired. You try to plump up and take some pictures and look good. You know, you get dressed back and you run over. And, you know, I'm 2.5 hours late.
Right.
And there, you know, the situation in Atlanta is where you got there early before the Masters and you did all your interviews. And Orndorff, he's trying to get people, his job was, you know, he carried a clipboard and he was trying to get people set up with their interviews in a timely
Right.
fashion. So I come late, and these guys, the crew, they want to take a break before they start the show. All this is understandable, but I come in the locker room and it's like, I sit down and I'm there 10 minutes, and Paul comes in and says, Leon, get your fat ass, why are you late? Get your fat ass over and do the interviews. Just take your shirt off, all we need is a mask. I said, hey Paul, what the fuck's wrong with you? I just got here. And I start to say, you know, talk to Eric.
Right.
No one knows this, right? He cuts me off, blah, 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 blah. And from that point, whatever happened, happened. Okay?
So you never even got to explain that you were late because you were working?
No. And that whole incident, and again, that was the fourth attack.
Right.
And, you know, the situation with Paul went on, and again, people have heard 1,000 different versions of that story. But, you know, again, I have no hard feelings with Paul. I said some things that were wrong. He said some things that were definitely wrong. But again, you know, you're talking about a time when he's real tired, I'm beat up and tired, and things that go. Now, obviously, Paul and Hogan have obviously they've got a history. But I remember that night back at the Marriott, where Flair and Hogan were staying, and I heard, you know, well, we got rid of him, and wrestlers had come up, and we finally got him. And my attorney talked to the, you know, I just couldn't prove it, you know. But
Interesting. Okay. Well,
anyways, life goes on, and I go to WWF.
And you get to the WWF at the time. How do you compare the two businesses, the two locker rooms?
You know, they were similar in respect. Once Hogan got to the WCW, they were very similar. Obviously, Hogan formed his own clique with Flair and Arn and Orndorff and Mike Graham, and I was not part of that locker room. And obviously, you had Shawn and Triple H and then Big Diesel and
A clique of your own up there in WWE.
and Scott. And I don't, you know. Certainly, I wasn't a part of that. I mean, they were unique unto themselves, you know.
So it was a real presence. That clique. There's a lot of
talent. I mean, you talk about Scott Hall and Diesel, Shawn, and Hunter.
But from a control standpoint, I mean, Leon, it was.
You know, I don't know if they controlled it. Certainly, the influence.
Yeah.
I mean, and God, rightfully so. There's a lot of talent within those four guys.